And starting who said what this morning, let's kickstart with a statement credited to, son of the former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai. He got speaking on some issues, and one that is critical, especially in the fourth floor of the Green Chamber, is the one on free education for Nigerians. And get to hear Bello El-Rufai wanting and engaging the National Assembly, especially the House of Reps, asking them to engage state assemblies so they can hold governors accountable for providing and implementing basic education, especially for children in the northern part of the country.
And as usual with you, an educative session. I want to echo what the leader said earlier, Mr. Speaker, and what you added. Perhaps an engagement between the leadership and some state governors, be it at a geopolitical level, sir. Because, as you said, our job is to earmark funding, and we do that. But we all know the reality of state assemblies. Only a few state assemblies in this current dispensation and the ones before will actually have these honest conversations with state governors. So despite the fact that there's separation of powers, perhaps not as a house as a whole, but you, the speaker, and the leadership could engage the state governors, because Nigerians out there, Mr. Speaker, look at us and blame us for an educational crisis at the primary level. That is not really our jurisdiction. Constitutionally, every member does his best, be it NECO fees, WAEC fees. Mr. Speaker, in Kaduna State, my father, when he was governor, as you recall, tried to test primary 4 teachers that failed exams. And it was a scandal, and he was, as usual, attacked by many, commended by many, like you. My current leader, the governor of the state, as my elder brother from Anambra said, the state, Kaduna State currently has what you call education, and as usual with you. And
okay, so that was, Bello El-Rufai stating that the National Assembly should start holding state houses of assembly accountable so governors can, pass the bill and, of course, enact on it to ensure they see free education for students from the basic level, at least from primary 1 to 6 and JSS 1 to 3. And that's what, Bello El-Rufai is pushing for at the floor of the Green Chamber, yesterday. And away from that, let's get to talk about, the statement credited, to former Minister of Interior, Rufai Oseni, where he's now advocating for the adoption of a parliamentary system in Nigeria, as this present one, might not be working so well for us.
Is about democratic representation. We have been talking about form of government, constitution. How do we elect people to the parliament? Yes, globally, what we have is what we do in Nigeria. I see a fault. I see an error in it. People are elected based on residence. And the truth is, with modern life, we are disconnected. Yes, in the traditional society, residence could be a forum of relationship, of engagement. In modern life, it is not. We are united more by production, through production. So, in therefore seeking appropriate democratic representation, let us look at production as the basis of representation. That's my first submission. I'm not an expert on society, but I have looked at it. We have a best form of representation. The answer is no. People are engaged more in production, in whatever form. Let us seek out, define a way of representation that will ensure that productivity, production, productive act, and those engaged in production in several forms
Okay, that was Rufai Oseni, the former Minister of Interior, speaking on production and, of course, looking at way to move from the current dispensation as a parliamentary system of government will work for us better as Nigerians. And away from that, let's quickly get to hear the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, talking about, Senator Remi Tinubu, as she got to speak about the Japa culture in Nigeria, as has now enjoined people that rather than traveling to other climes where you do menial jobs that you won't do in Nigeria, let's stay in the country and build Nigeria together. Let's get to listen to the First Lady speak.
Nigerians, we can help each other. The rate we are doing parties and all that going to them, why don't you use the money to help your neighbor until, we can really get on our feet? So, and those are the things we have to look at. And it's not that government has to begin to give food to everybody and tasking. I believe in social development and social investment for people who truly need it, And in the Bible, they even talked about, in the times of Jesus, it said the poor you will always have in the land. Mm-hmm. So, and it's for people who God has blessed to help the poor. But now you don't even know who are poor. If you don't ride a car, they will say they are poor. If you don't have your own home, they say they are poor. Even all those people saying they are going to Japa or they go there, what work are you going to do? Work that you refuse to do at home, where you have loved ones. You end up going to do that. Even with all their education, they're driving cabs. But they won't drive cabs here. Yes. So, there are a lot of things that, as lawmakers, we want, especially that of the security. I want you to really take it to heart, and, it's really, really very, very important at this time. I'm so glad that you are here, and this is a holy month. Yeah. As we are fasting, I pray that God will answer grant all your petitions and honor your prayers and, answer it and forgive you whatever.
Okay, that's, Senator Remi Tinubu, talking about, how Nigerians should shun party politics, shun traveling abroad, rather that money that will be used in traveling abroad to do jobs that are quite menial in nature or not even dignifying in nature. Let's put it into building our country and also helping other people. Anyway, what do you think about the statement? Hit us up on WhatsApp via the number 0700 010 961 961. Let's hear what you have to say about some of the sound bites you've heard from notable individuals, especially that of El-Rufai, who is now pushing state governors, asking them to ensure that they solidify the place of children in school and ensure they grant free education for students at the basic level. Also, we heard about Rufai Oseni, the former Minister of Interior, talking about moving on to a parliamentary system, as that will work better for us as a nation, until that of Senator Remi Tinubu talking about Nigerians and their Japa culture. Anyway, the truth is, whether you like it or not, this wouldn't deter Nigerians who want to leave the country to leave. But at the end of the day, Nigeria is ours and ours alone to build. And we hope that we put our hands together and build our nation. Let's quickly go on a break. When we come back, we'll get straight into the front page review, as we'll be talking with Rufai Oseni right here in the studios. Don't move a muscle. Stay here with us.
It's thrilling, controversial, heated, thought-provoking. Catch Rufai Oseni.
Came here to misrepresent the facts today as regards subsidy removal.
Kesire Aqua.
Report was that $9 billion is lost yearly to illegal mining.
And Simeon Sunday.
If you know something of this nature is happening within your community, why didn't you raise an alarm?
On the Front Page Review, weekdays at 7:15 a.m. Now, you have a voice.
Good morning to you, Mr. Rufai. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Bless you, my brother. How are you doing?
Doing great. Great to have you on the show this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started this morning, especially with the student loan bill. As the National Assembly has now passed the student loan bill, and based on the provision of that bill, they are now proposing jail term for defaulters. What do you have to say about that, quickly?
I mean, jail term for defaulters in an economy when you know large amount of people are going to default, in an economy where over 19% of people don't have about 500,000 in their bank accounts, and so it's going to be worse off now. An economy where they are jobs. I mean, I have always said I've never been a fan of this trend. What I want them to do is put that money into the educational sector, subsidizing the tuition fee even more, let people be able to come up with the money, but not this giving them. There's going to be another handy punch. Even the best one with the best of leadership still has problems. If you remember something called the People's Bank back in the days with Maria Shukenu and Taisholari. That thing just dented Taisholari's integrity in the end. In fact, there are stories about that thing, when People's Bank first affected Taisholari so much. Apparently led to his demise in 94. Yes, so it has to be said. I don't know. Let's just see how this passes. I might be wrong. I don't know.
Anyway, let's be optimistic about this particular one, especially aside the jail term, which is something that even students might be worried about, because even if you borrow from Lapo and the rest, the only thing you get is threat messages, no threat of a jail term. But with this one, especially with the federal government of Nigerians, are you sure students will even want to buy into this, knowing that there is a provision in that same bill that you might actually go to jail if at any point you default on it?
No, I think now they want to start killing these future leaders. Very sad because they are not paying back. I mean, people like Barack Obama, I think it was only 5 years before the presidency, or 5 years or 10 years before that I finished paying his student loans. Yeah, so I mean, if you want to do something that will cut across for students, do something like a GIB in America where you know there's a grant. I'll prefer a grant than a loan. So people can usually pay this money back. They can't pay this money. I'm going to look at the default rate of loans, very high. So those are the statistics that have been taken in the first place. And it's not that you are assured of any job or any work. Let's get found out.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. Anyway, hopefully we get to see this, work efficiently, especially for Nigerians who might probably need the loans. Let's move away from that and let's talk about, the Senate having a meeting with service chiefs. We saw the videos trending of the service chiefs with the Senate yesterday, and basically what the conversation was around was getting those culpable, facing the law. Will we see any decisive action being taken, and will we see those who are perpetrators of this crime brought to book at the end of the day? And probably we see a stop to the bloodbath.
Let's just go after them. Yesterday I got the chance to speak with the police commissioner of Delta. He said the police that might have got into a quarter because the police has just ordered it out.
Hello, Mr. Rufai. Let me try reconnecting with you. The line, network is not friendly this morning. We can barely piece out what you're saying. Let's try as much as possible to get through to him again. I don't know what's wrong with the network this morning. Hopefully it gets clearer. Hello, Mr. Rufai. Yes, go ahead, please. We'll just have to manage it.
As I was saying, it has to be done in accordance with law. Yesterday we spoke to CP Delta. He said that the police have not even gotten there to Obama, and they will not even allow them to get that committee, or even the governor didn't get it there. Let's grant the federal act. Let's be while the army. But I need to even catch the suspect. You have to take them to the legal process. Pure and simple.
Okay, with this, I saw the statement by the Commissioner of Police in Delta State, and I heard what he said, basically that even the police haven't been able to access, the community. When you hear a statement like this by agencies of government, you get to ask yourself, truly, what is happening in that community? Is there something happening that, probably the military doesn't want Nigerians to have a wind off?
It has to get finicky. That's why I said let's have transparency across. The military can't just say the community and they're carrying out an operation in the community and they are there without us seeing what's going on. In fact, my memory was that even when you have the Zanayev brothers, the crackdown on the Zanayev brothers during the Boston bombing, that they perpetrated the Boston bombing, we were seeing what in action the police was carrying like this Kurukuru with their eyes on CNN on TV. If you remember the Zanayev brothers, Zanayev, the Boston bombers, when they cracked them down. Even when the French were cracking down on some terrorists that want to help people, we saw the operation like this in our face. So this idea of that, the fact that the foreign no formal, no cameras and confidence and everything, even police can't fly drones. Because I also asked them the question that, okay, police say they have drones. What about flying your drones over the place? They know you can't fly drones. Like, what is going on there? So we need this transparency across. That's just we're in a democracy. And that's what I keep saying. We're in a democracy. Let's not forget that.
Very true.
We're in a democracy.
Very true. Okay, hopefully we get to see transparency as, all the, especially the Chief of Defense Staff have actually promised Nigerians. And now let's talk about, controversy that's now trailed the list, released yesterday, the terrorist financiers. That particular list have raised a lot of dust as it has now been said that the NFIU, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, have now disowned that report, that it didn't emanate from them as well, that memo. That, probably it was reported earlier that it leaked from them that these were the individuals involved in one form of financing terrorism or the other.
I knew that thing was finished. Once I saw even Mahmoud's list there, there was a lot, there's a lot of things going on. And that's why I kept on asking that the real authentic list that the Dubai authority says, what are we able to do with all of that? So you can see how keep generating fake stories that even newspapers even carry in. And all of that. So, who are those perpetrating all of this?
Yeah, hello. Hello. Okay, apologies for the network this morning. Let's keep reaching out to Rufai. Yeah, hello. Okay, are you there? Okay, apologies. Network is not too friendly this morning. We just hope that the network allows us. Network has been terrible since the past 1 week right now. Okay, we're trying to reconnect with Rufai Oseni, and of course we're talking about the controversy trailing the leaked list of terrorist financiers, and that is even on Daily Trust this morning. We saw the report, went nearly over 15 years. The federal government, right from even the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan, even to his successor Muhammadu Buhari and even Bola Tinubu, promised to expose, terror financiers in the country with a view to unraveling, the mystery surrounding this particular problem Nigeria is facing. And of course, yesterday we saw the report on the Punch newspaper where it was said that, the list of terror financiers have been purportedly leaked by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. And this was reported yesterday, which was, 20th of March 2024. And right now, based on reports by Daily Trust, let's get back to Rufai Oseni. Hello, welcome back.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, it's clearer and better now. Yes, you were saying something about the NFIU disowning the memo.
So, you can see the shenanigans that goes on, and that's why we should be very careful in this country. And so, once I saw that Mahmoud's name was there, because Mahmoud was still going through a court process. They're still back and forth and all that. So there's a lot of shenanigans, there's a lot of media blackmail and all of that going on. The question is, who are those releasing and leaking all of this? So we have too many people as an instrument, most of the organizations out there, which is sad. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. We could barely hear you for a moment there.
I'm still speaking.
Yeah, hello.
I'm still speaking. Can you hear me?
Oh,
yeah.
we didn't even get your closing statement you made at all.
I was just talking about the fact that we should be careful with lists like this coming up.
Okay. No problem. Let's move on to other story because we see your time is fast spent. You will need to go anytime now. Let's talk about this present development where President Bola Tinubu has now banned ministers, heads of agencies, and other government officials from embarking on public-funded foreign trips, for the next 3 months. And of course... Hello?
I said that's audio. Forget all of that.
Why do you say it's audio?
Because this was the same president that said he was going to force his own entourage to 20. And the last time he refused explicitly. He started by banning his own children from public funded trips and go to the school with everywhere. They will know the thing.
So in other words, you don't believe it.
Like, when people start having distrust for the government, most of the time, when I say it's the government that comes, it's when you don't keep your own promise.
Okay. Anyway, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I don't know why you can't hear me. I can hear you loud and clear.
Wow. I think it's from my end as well. But quickly, before I let you go, let me talk about the crisis rocking the Labour Party right now. And according to recent reports on The Punch, Labour Party is now, demanding the arrest of Joe Ajero over the invasion. According to them, what they call invasion. We saw, some Labour Union individuals, protesting right in front of the Labour Party office secretariat yesterday, and they are now calling for Joe Ajero's arrest.
Let's be realistic here. All of this is because of the success of the Labour Party. I asked Joe Ajero and those that are fighting now, if the Labour Party had not been that successful in the last election, will they start this fight? I know, yes, the Labour Party has its roots in the Nigerian Labour Congress and Nigeria. With all of this going on, is it the need to be able to take over the party, or the need to be able to do a convention and foster the wisdom for the party? So there's been a lot of back and forth as regards all those that are and I've got a tool to work itself. But all of this is just because of the success of the Labour Party. Now it's the success of the party. We've got over 6 million votes in the last election. Everybody knows that capital.
Oh, okay. So with all this drama happening right now, are we not seeing, possibly a lot of people saying that possibly an implosion for this party? Because the drama, around it now is now even more than for this party. Because the drama, around it now is now even more than what we saw with the opposition.
It's not an inflation. This is already an inflation for the party. You know what I'm saying? It's not good optics for the party.
Okay.
I think voters want the Labour Party going forward in the next election after all these skirmishes and fights.
So, and looking at this, what does this even now imply? The implication for its flag bearer, the man who flew the party of the party at the last election.
It's good to be a conversation. You only remember the Labour Party. So, it needs to do some work now. It's mature enough of conversation to make that won't be
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Rufai, for joining us this morning, even though network, wants to show itself.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great morning. Okay, you're listening to the Front Page Review right here on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. We just spoke with Rufai Oseni. Apologies, for the terrible network. I'm sure some of us were squinting our ears and eyes and everything just to ensure we get to piece out the information he is churning out. But hopefully tomorrow we'll have a better, conversation and a better network with him. But remember, I'll be speaking with Larry Ogoego in a bit, who'll be joining us. Hopefully his network will be clearer, than what we had earlier. Stick around. This is still the Front Page Review right here. My name is Simeon Sunday. Don't move a muscle.
You can take the boy out of radio, but you can't take the radio out of the boy, can you?
Broadcasting in high definition.
Voice of the People, 96.1 FM.
talk.
Before you even announce a result, you should have the CTC waiting.
Keep talking.
If you want to tax people, you must provide them service.
Don't stop talking.
If anybody is telling that I'm a mole, that person is just being mischievous.
Hey, it's your rights to talk.
We are Voice of the People.
Let's talk.
You're welcome back. This is still Voice of the People, 96.1 FM here in the capital city of Abuja, and we are always your voice. Now you have a voice with us right here, and we're still talking about some of the important updates across the country, especially with the development across several newspaper platforms this morning. Thank you for joining in on the show. Remember, you can actually join us live on YouTube as we are on that particular platform. The YouTube page is Voice of the People Abuja. Voice of the People Abuja. All you have to do is just go on there, subscribe to our page, and get to check out all the amazing content we are putting out there right here on Voice of the People. And of course, let's get through to Larry Oguego, who is currently standing by and waiting to actually give his 2 cents to some of the conversation we are having this morning right here. Let's get through to him in a bit. Good morning to you, Mr. Larry.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. Welcome to the front page review this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, Mr. Larry, let's get started and let's talk about this controversial one that some Nigerians have been reacting to, and that is, the passing of, the student loan bill, the proposed student loan bill. And, it's a good one, especially for this bill, as some requirements have been taken out by the president, which is the guarantors, the credit score history of your family or your parents. But one that has gotten a lot of people worried is the provision for jail term for defaulters of this loan. What do you have to say about it, quick?
I think it's terrible to criminalize loan defaults. There is no jail term for defaulting in paying loans to banks in Nigeria. There is no jail term for defaulting in generally paying loans even to individuals. We do not criminalize transactions. If you give students a loan, it's a loan. It's not a criminal offense not to be able to pay back a loan. There should be other ways to collateralize the loan, and that underscores the way Nigeria functions. There are several Nigerians that took loans, massive amounts of money from commercial banks, and they refuse to pay, and they have not done anything to them. They have not sent them to jail. Worst case scenario, they will get AMCON to take over their assets, which sometimes doesn't even happen successfully. So you can imagine that the same people that observe these irresponsible men take money, sometimes make banks collapse, and nothing happens to them. You now want students to go to jail for not being able to repay loans. Meanwhile, you are giving them loans to go to school in a country where the labor market is practically non-existent. People don't have jobs. The economy is actually shrinking, as it were. Yes, we can have the statistics saying, oh, this percent growth, that percent growth, but we know that companies are leaving Nigeria. Jobs are scarce. The entrepreneurship environment is very, very hostile. And then you're telling me that if I take a loan in this economy, if I don't repay the loan in not too many years, then you'd send me to jail. In America, there are people who pay this loan practically for a lifetime. It's unfair that if you want to copy things, you either don't copy well, or you go and make it impossible for people to even venture to take the loan. Very few persons who have the courage to go and take a loan when they could go to jail for inability to pay back, especially in this economy. So I think if they want the son of a poor man to take that loan, they should remove that clause completely. They should find other ways to manage to get back the loan. And if they lack ideas, I can give them ideas that won't threaten anybody to go to jail. I think it's important that we begin to make policies work. We are totally bereft of ideas, and this is the simplest way to shoot ourselves in the foot. Let me also point out that with what they just did, the children of the rich will go and collect that loan because they know they won't go to jail. The children of the political class will collect that same loan, though they don't need it, and just chop the money, like we say in local parlance, and nothing will happen because they know they won't be tried and they won't go to jail. But the children of the poor will even be afraid to venture because that prospect of going to jail will hang like a sword of Damascus over their heads. So I think they should make this impractical by thinking of how best to support students. If you can share cash in the market, you call it trader money. If you can practically throw money around the way they do, billions of naira, and you cannot support your sons and daughters to go to school, then something is terribly wrong with the way these guys think. Terribly wrong.
Looking at this, questions that have been raised as regards the success of this initiative in the first place. The president earlier, when he said it was going to make this accessible to even the common Nigerian, hence the student loan, because they are the ones who cannot even afford it at the end of the day. With this hanging over their head, when you give false information, you are guilty of a felony, and basically you are liable to imprisonment for about 3 years, as provided for by, this particular bill itself. Will this not desist or stop students from even wanting to access it in the first place, and they'll actually look for other means?
Anybody who gives false information in an official document, that especially when it's under oath, is actually an offense. I support the fact that people shouldn't lie under oath. It's pejorative when you lie under oath, and then on several official documents you are not expected to tell lies. In fact, for me, on any document at all, we live in a country where people falsify their age. That is, they go to work, and then when it's 5 years to retirement, the age will change again. Then after some time, the age will change again. So they'll do like Methuselah, the age will keep changing. We need to discourage such things. So if you're a student and you want us to fund your education, at least you should be honest. However, you cannot ask me to guarantee that if I will pay the loan and that if I don't, I'll go to jail. That is very terrible. That's the one that I do not agree with. And then if you say that, if the person tells a lie, that the person will go to jail for 3 years. So what is remaining of the person's youthful life? 3 years. So how much
that's to discourage lies.
What have they done? Yes, that's what I'm not encouraging lying, but you see, one of the things I've always said in Nigeria is that we don't know how to apportion punishment. In Nigeria, you can go to jail for 10 years for a minor offense. That is what I mean by minor offense. Something that is not particularly significant compared to the fact that people will steal 100 billion and then they are either set free or they go to jail for 3 years or 4 years. We heard about a man who said he was gifted $100 million in cash and he walked away. How do you explain that? If you go and read our constitution, you see that there is a section that's called Code of Conduct for Public Servants. I know that part like the back of my hand. And I don't understand how a human being can be collecting gifts, cash, dollars, and you store it in your house. for God knows how long. And eventually, the judiciary agreed that, everybody agreed that, they are gifts given to me over time. And then you go home. And then a student tells a lie. I'm not encouraging lying. But you see, you have to give punishment that is commensurate with the offense. You don't allow politicians to walk away with 5 years when they steal our commonwealth and damage our future and destiny. And then you give them 3 years, 5 years. Then after 1 year, you give them presidential pardon to go home. Yes, some don't even go anywhere at all. And then even those who have the misfortune because they are politically out of favor and they are jailed, they get presidential pardon shortly after. Then you now want a student who told a lie, which is not good, but then because the person told a lie, you leave school and go to jail for 3 years. If you want to apply that standard, start with the politicians. When they tell a lie on their party nomination forms, when they tell a lie on all of those documents, why don't they go to jail? When they tell us that they did NYSC or they have certificates that they don't have, did they go to jail? So we can't have double standards, one for the students, one for the politicians, and we want this country to have a future. If we want to assist students with student loan, let us go and check how other countries manage their student loan. A lot of Nigerians study in the United States, and we know how student loan functions. I know people who have taken student loan in America. They are not under threat of going to jail or anything significant for that matter. It's a social service. If you can share trader money in the market, it's a grant. You dash people money. You don't know what they do with the money. There's no parameter. And you are not paying student bursary anymore. You have removed the bursary. Now you want to give them loan, and you want them to agree that they'll go to jail if they don't pay. That is terrible. That shows that you don't even want to assist them in the first place.
Okay. Anyway, let's move away from that. Let's talk about this developing story, as there have been so many sides to it since the Punch reported it yesterday. Remember, we had a conversation about some financiers of terrorists. Their names being published by, according to the report by the Punch at the time, by the NFIU. And that's the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. But now we've seen controversy trailing that particular report. The NFIU have now disowned that memo, that it did not emanate from them, that they are investigating it. And even part of the individuals, the bureau de change that was even indicted as well, we've found out that most of them are not even registered with the CAC. And the question is, how were they operating in this climb? And now, government officials are now saying the case is in court, so they do not want to, discuss it. Now, looking at this, all those discrepancies, stories flying around as regards terrorism financing, will we really see those who are financing terrorism in Nigeria being brought to book? Or will we keep seeing this media trials, people doing this back and forth, people denying this, people saying this is who it is, and they saying I am not among it?
I think we are not going to get to the root of the fight against terrorism until we begin to look at the illicit cash flow that funds terrorism. And we cannot get to the root of the illicit cash flow until we have the moral courage to hold the rich and influential accountable. The truth is that we have refused to see that there is a link between banditry and terrorism and certain kinds of businesses. We are aware that states that have solid minerals seem to have peculiar cases of banditry and related matters. And while they are engaging in the so-called banditry, I say so-called because while they are engaging in it and some of us cannot travel, foreigners go on with their mining activities. So you ask yourself the question, how are they able to operate within this space where you have so much banditry? So it tells you that some of the things we cry about are actually sponsored and stage managed, to the extent that, yes, they raise money not only for the international terrorist organizations, but business entities also exploit insecurity. And that is why it's difficult for our politicians to have the moral courage to apprehend these people, because they are people they know, people they relate to, people who donate to campaign funds, people who hobnob and party with them. Until we get to that point where we have the moral courage to act for the overall interest of the nation, not in personal interest. That's one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria. We take most of our actions, whether it's in public or private, based on personal interest, not overriding public interest. Until we get to that point where we can call a spade and say, we don't want this thing anymore. And anybody who is involved will punish the person, even if the person is the son of the president or the daughter of a governor. But we are not anywhere near that standard yet. So all these stories you're hearing is because we are not ready yet. We are not ready yet to tell ourselves the truth about funding terrorism. You are aware that there was a time this issue came up before, and we kept calling them to. They said they have identified the persons that they will try them. You know, the smoke just evaporated for so many months. Moving into years, we are calling them, can you release the names? Let us know the people, then prosecute them. Eventually, that was the last administration. Nothing happened.
Even during the last administration, we saw some names, at least names of 6 Nigerians, or 5, I beg your pardon, been sent by the United Arab Emirates. Questions were also being raised at the time.
Yes, I remember that happened. So the question, what happened? Finally, and when you talk about borrow the change being registered and not being registered, we have the formal market and the informal market, and the people who do the real foreign exchange transactions, the people who move the cash, most of the time they don't have any business registration. They don't have any. If you want to buy $1 million, you can assemble the $1 million under the mango trees in any major city in Nigeria. So we have a very chaotic situation in this country, and unfortunately our politicians, because they have related so closely with these people, do not have the courage to call them to order. Both the terrorism financiers, the people who manipulate our currency, all of these people are strongly embedded in the political system. They may not be contesting for elections, but they fund politicians. They have solid connections in the National Assembly, in the security apparatus of the country. So anytime you talk about these things, you are just talking, because you can talk to get mileage, political mileage, but they will remind you of where we are all coming from. And if you insist on exposing them, they may also expose you. So I think we are not ready to fight corruption, because the people who are supposed to fight corruption are more corrupt than the people that pursue it. So you can make headway in that circumstance.
This is a huge allegation. You say those who are here to fight corruption are even more corrupt. That's a very strong statement.
But it's not an allegation. It's how do I know? Can you imagine, this is one of the few countries in the world where almost anybody that has headed EFCC ends up in one scandal or the other, being arrested, detained, and all of that. But let me get away from that. You can say they were not convicted, but this is the only country that is supposed to be taking economic and financial crime seriously. However, we seize properties every year, worth billions of naira, tens of billions of naira, and we don't know what happens to those properties. You are aware? If you don't know, let me tell you that in Abuja and other cities, people seize houses, organizations seize houses, and then they let the houses to tenants and collect the money and put in their pockets. How do you do that without any authorization? And you are telling me this is not an allegation, it's not a statement to just make people happy, or they say we are talking on radio. No, it's fact. We know it's fact that the people who are supposed to pursue the corrupt Nigerians very often are more corrupt than the people they are pursuing. After all, the EFCC is largely peopled and occupied by police officers. We know the antecedents of our police officers. Yes, we have a few intelligent and honest police officers, but these police officers are a reflection of the country in which they operate. And if I start telling you about policing and police in Nigeria, you may pack your bag and get out of the country. So what I'm telling you is not based on just talk. This is something I know. I've worked with these institutions. I know how they operate. I've seen the scandals close up, and I know that the people who are supposed to help us fight corruption are unfortunately very corrupt.
Okay, let's move away from that. Let's get to talk about other issues, especially in the power sector, as it is reported on the Guardian newspaper. I've seen these particular figures. A lot of questions on my mind I'm going to ask you. The Guardian reports that federal government have actually spent about 6 trillion naira subsidy on almost unavailable electricity in the past 10 years. And looking at the figures, a breakdown of the amount of subsidy spent on electricity on a yearly basis. I'm going to give you a breakdown so you get to understand the basis for my question and what makes it sums up to about 6 trillion naira. In 2015, 225 billion was spent on subsidy, and then in 2016, 308 billion. 2017, 351 billion was spent. And 2018, we saw 440 billion spent. 2019, 528 billion. In 2020, 501 billion was spent on subsidy. And in 2021, 251, and 2022, 144 billion. This was the least, spent on subsidy, just 2022. And then last year, 2023, we saw 645 billion. But this year alone, 2024, between January and February, it has been reported that 2 trillion naira has been spent on subsidy. This is the biggest amount we've spent on electricity subsidy, in the past, 10 years in the country. So looking at this figure, in just 2 months, in 2024, 2 trillion has been spent on electricity subsidy. And within the same 2 months was the time we had the worst power in the country. And you ask yourself, what are they subsidizing? Are they subsidizing darkness? Mr. Larry.
Well, you take it right out of my mouth. I was actually going to tell you that they were subsidizing darkness. They are paying for us to stay in darkness. And it's sad. That is why sometimes you wonder about the things we get to hear in this country. It appears the two most scandalous sectors in this country revolve around power. That's the petroleum sector, the petroleum industry, and the power industry. And they are not transparent about these figures. You see, we have statistics. You'll be surprised to know that we have statistics not only of the number of official electricity consumers, we also have statistics of when there is power and when there is outage. Those statistics are there with the electricity distribution companies. And there is no way you can stretch your imagination and find 2 trillion for subsidizing electricity supply. I don't know how they do their calculation. One of the things we have to learn in this country is to be transparent about the things we say. So if you say you spent 2 trillion, what exactly have you subsidized? Does it mean that you're subsidizing the purchase of power by the distribution companies, or you're subsidizing transmission, or you're subsidizing the consumption as per that we are not asking consumers to pay what is commensurate with the cost of producing power, as in the case of petrol and all that. They have to tell us what they mean by subsidy in precise terms. And that is how we can now help them to calculate whether they are indeed subsidizing or they are fleecing us in the name of subsidy. But the painful part is that for you to say you're subsidizing, it means that we have the power, but maybe we're not paying for it, and you're helping us pay, or you're helping move it to us. The painful part is that we don't have the power. Like you said, this is the worst quarter, if you ask me, in recent memory. We have had several grid failures. We have several cases of power outage. We have stories about gas supply and all kinds of things. And then at the end of the day, you are telling me that in just less than a quarter, you spend 2 trillion. Now, that tells you that if you make simple projections, we are headed to more than 12 trillion in subsidy in 2024, if nothing changes. And that, of course, is not acceptable. So one of the things I've always said about Nigeria is that very often they're going to tell us that they have saved money. Oh, we have removed fuel subsidy, we are saving some money. And then somehow in Nigeria, we don't ever really save money and apply the money to some useful ventures. That's we ostensibly save the money only to consume it or steal it or misappropriate it. Because for me, every time you save money, even before you save the money, you should make a projection of what you want to do with the money. Even when you are recovering looted funds, you should make projections of what to do with it. But this is the only country I know where you will save money and the money will also grow wings and fly away. You recover stolen funds and the funds are stolen again. We need to stop that cycle, because as long as we engage in this cycle, we are not going to make progress. God bless Nigeria with amazing resources. First of all, human resources, the best you can imagine. When we travel to other climes, we do exploits. Then we have solid minerals, enough to make us rich as a nation without oil and gas. And then we have oil and gas, enough to make us rich as a nation without solid minerals. We have all of these things, and yet we can't make progress. We are just subsisting. In fact, we are not even subsisting anymore. We are sinking. So I don't like these stories of subsidy and you don't tell us how, and you're throwing abandoning around figures that are mind-boggling. They need to give us more explanation so that we can also do our own assessment to know whether they're hoodwinking us, funding darkness, or somebody is taking our money.
Okay. Let's talk about the headline on, Daily Sun this morning. On Daily Sun, it is reported that reps jack up CJN, other judicial officers' salaries. According to the report, the House of Reps yesterday passed the bill for upward review of salaries, allowances, as well as fringe benefits for judicial officers across the country. And it has gone through the third reading at the moment. And this bill seeks to amend, certain political, public and judicial office holders' salaries and allowances Act Number 6, 2002, as amended. And the bill is expected to be transmitted to the president for assent. And the bill, when signed into law by President Tinubu, will take effect. Is to take effect from 1st of January 2024. So in other words, maybe the salaries will be backdated, and the additional will be added to them, going forward. And looking at the proposition made by this legislation, it is now prescribed that a total of about 5.3 million naira will be the monthly earning, and this will comprise 1.1 million naira basic salary and allowances for the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And the allowances annually are personal assistance 3.36 million, hardship allowance 6.73 million, entertainment will take about 6 million, utilities will take 4 million, outfit will take 3 million, subscriptions will take 2 million naira, medicals will take about 5 million, long service allowance will be 1.3 million, restricted or forced lifestyle will be 6 million or 6.7. Then dual responsibility will be 2.6 million. Legal researches will be 9.4 million. And the CGN also gets 53 million naira motor vehicle loan. And the loan is optional in any way, and it is expected to be repaid before the expiration of the CJN's tenure. So looking at this, some have actually said is a good one. This in a way would deter our judicial officers from seeking bribe if they are well incentivized, they are paid well by the government of the country. What do you have to say about this?
So much to talk about here. The truth is that it's good that our judicial officers are paid well. There's no doubt about the fact that they should be paid well. But we should also hold them accountable after paying them well to ensure that they do not engage in corruption. I must disagree with people who think that corruption is strictly a factor of how much a person is paid. Corruption is a thing of the mind. It's about values. If you pay a judicial officer 2 million a month, it looks very good. If a politician offers the same judicial officer $500,000, $1 million, 2 million a month pales into insignificance. So it is our capacity to be satisfied, to be contented with what we have, whether it's 2 million or 1 million, that is critical when you want to talk about fighting corruption. It's a mindset thing. It's not necessarily about money. Some people may not agree, but I leave them to meditate on this. Having said that, it's good that we pay the judicial workers better, but I don't think we should restrict it to the judges and the people who sit in judgment, magistrate judges, and all of those. We need to also realize that there is massive corruption going on in our courts. Massive corruption. You won't understand.
But Mr. Larry, these are the... Okay, go ahead.
No, let me explain this. You need to know. Something happened in Enugu a few days ago. A young man, a law-abiding, hardworking young man, was just railroaded into prison. That is, somebody paid for him to be remanded in prison. It was so bad that this young man went to court with his lawyer and asked for the charge sheet. In other words, he said, you want to arraign me in court. Can I get an arraignment notice? The police said no. He went to court where the police filed the case in a magistrate court and asked the court clerk, with a lawyer, can I get a charge sheet of what I'm coming to court tomorrow for? They said no. They were telling him stories because they were paid not to give it to him. Because if he knew that they were charging him for an offense that would remand him in prison, he would have fought back. We have massive corruption. If a Nigerian gets bail, that is one aspect. After the judge pronounces that you have been released on bail, you have to pay money to process the bail. I'm not saying what I don't know. I'm saying what we fight every day all over the place. So the people, the lower staff of these courts are holding the people by the jugular, because this person, for instance, may be in a waiting trial in prison. The family jubilates, oh, he has been granted bail. He comes out and they begin to tell you, bring 3,000. In fact, in one case that happened recently somewhere in the southeast, they asked them, in fact, in Anambra to be precise, the court clerk asked this person who was granted bail to pay 30,000 naira so we can process the bail. So they are even worse than the police in some aspects. So if you think money will solve the problem, you should reduce the salary. But I can tell you for free that money will not solve the problem.
You mentioned something.
Just more money will not solve the problem.
Mr. Larry, you mentioned something which is also critical to this particular discussion. You mentioned the police, but I want to, talk about the police and linkage with, the judicial officers right now. A lot of people have actually called for the increment in police salaries. Probably will see them, corruption go a bit less than what we are seeing at the moment. Any financial incentive from the federal government of Nigeria at all level, but at the customary level, at the state and high federal level, will this not in a way, see the judicial officers tend to what they are being paid to do, rather than looking for other means of making ends meet, as we've seen?
The truth is that, my brother, this end I'm meeting, the end is not about to meet anytime soon. Whether your ends will meet or not, to a large extent, depends on how you manage your finances and your life. I know that there are some people who are so badly paid that they can never make ends meet, more or less. But you see, we have Nigerians who are already well paid, who are steeped in corruption. All these governors that EFCC arrest and they tell us they are indicting for 7 billion, are they not well paid? They take security funds. They have gifts from people. So I have said it consistently. We shouldn't get into this deceptive thinking that once we give a person money, a little more money, because you're not going to multiply the person's salary. Remember, if I'm earning 50,000 and you move my salary up to 70,000 a month, you just give me 20,000 naira more. It cannot stop me from being corrupt. But that's not the conversation for today. For me, the most important statement I want to make on this subject matter is that we are not sincere as a nation. We single out people on the basis of need. Listen to this. So the judiciary appears to be a problem. So let us settle them with more money. We think the police needs to function better. So let's settle them with more money. The education sector, uncle, do we settle them with more money? The medical and healthcare sector, uncle, more money. The point I'm making is we have a conversation going on about minimum wage. I think it's better to have a conversation about what a Nigerian should earn. Let me tell you the plain truth. Nobody is more important than the next person. You won't understand that you need a healthcare personnel until you're sick. You won't understand you need an honest judiciary until you get into trouble and somebody is maltreating you in terms of judiciary matters. The point I'm making is that as long as you don't get into trouble, you don't even realize that you need to clean up the judiciary or the police. As long as you are not sick, you don't realize that you need to pay the hospital staff better and make it work better. And let me even, on a funny note, as long as your sander doesn't cut along the road, you don't know you did a cobbler. It's when your sander cuts, you stop and start looking for a cobbler. The point I'm making is that we should rise up as a nation and realize that every single person is important. So I don't like this idea of National Assembly rushing through the increment of the salary of the judicial officers. And if you go and look at that increment, you see that it is skewed in favor of those who sit on the bench. It may not be equally favorable to the administrative staff. But the point I'm making is that no Nigerian is well paid. No Nigerian is well paid. So why should you be dragging your foot on the issue of minimum wage, and then you are rushing and backdating the payment of some other Nigerians who are going to the same market as these other people you refuse to pay decent minimum wage?
Anyway,
we need to wake up as a nation.
Let me play the devil's advocate. You said, it's skewed in favor of those on the bench. Remember, Nigeria runs on a tripartite, system, which is the legislative, the judiciary, and of course the executive. We've seen the executive, earning large. We have been calling for a review of their salaries and their allowances. We've seen legislators as well, going on with jeeps that we are still dragging them for. It now seems like the judiciary are the ones that have been left out. So now they are being brought on board. So at least it's creating a balanced system.
Sorry, go and check your records. How much is the salary of a governor? The executives are not earning large, they are stealing large. Go and check. How much is the salary of a governor in Nigeria?
You said
they are not earning large.
You said governors are not earning large, they are stealing large. Is that what you said?
Yeah, you can quote me. Yes, they are not earning large. What is the salary of a governor? It's not more than $1 million a month. It's not up to $1 million a month.
There are other allowances attached to
that makes them. That's the point I'm making. Some of those allowances. There's a governor in the southeast that has inconvenience allowance. That is your campaign to be governor. Then after campaigning, you beg us, please vote for me. I want to be governor. Then we vote for you, become governor. You then attach inconvenience allowance to the same job you are begging us to do.
Which governor are you referring to, Mr. Larry? Let's call names.
In fact, Anambra State government pays the governor inconvenience allowance. I have the law that approved it. Inconvenient. That is, it's not convenient for you to be governor yet. You campaign.
Is it the same governor who said he hasn't been paid by? Is it the same governor? Mr. Larry, are you referring to the same governor who recently stated during his second year in office service in church that he hasn't been paid by the federal government? The state hasn't paid him. He hasn't collected salaries.
No, that particular provision has been there for some years.
Even before the advent of Soludo.
Let me open. No, it's not. It didn't start with the Soludo administration. It didn't even start with the other administration. What I'm just trying to point out is that let me make this clear. We live in a country where I will digress for 1 minute. But do you know that if you go to a normal House of Assembly, this is something I've done many times, and you ask them to give you all the legislations, all the laws that they passed since 1990, they will ask you, what are you doing with it? They will refuse. I've tried it in 4 states. They will ask you, tell me the one you want. Why do you want all the laws? And I will tell you why. When you are finally able to get it, and have been able to obtain it for 2 states, you will see things that will make you bleed. That is cry, shed blood, not tears. So they don't want you to see, for instance, that a governor is paid inconvenience allowance. So when you say, I want all day, these things should be in public domain, they should be online. They will tell you, a guy, be like, say, you they look for trouble. Which law do you want? So even the legislative arm of government, they do funny things because they are rubber stamps, and they hide the funny things they do. That is why we tell them, be transparent. How many houses of assembly in Nigeria have published all the laws which are supposed to be in public domain? But if you don't have access, you go and ask them, I want the law. They will say, no, that just tell us the one you want. Okay. I told them, I sent my staff and I said, tell them, we'll pay for the photocopy. However, they said, just tell us the one you want and why. I know how I obtained the ones of the state I obtained. And somebody nearly lost her job for one of the states for giving us the laws. So we live in a country where we are fighting battles on all fronts.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that the executive, their salaries are not really high. If you go to Singapore, they pay their public servants corporate salaries so that the best brains can be attracted to government. If you're a Nigerian and you're brilliant and you want to actually be honest, the salary of a public servant will impoverish you compared to the salary of your colleagues who have the same brain power in the private sector. That is one of the secrets of Singapore. They actually pay people salaries commensurate with their input. And let me tell you something else that we don't think about. When you don't pay the people in public service well, and they make policies that control all of us, including those in private sector, it means we are dumb. Because when we don't pay them well, and we attract the brains that don't function well to that sector, their ineptitude truth will affect all of us and put a glass ceiling on our possible accomplishments. And that's what is happening to us.
Thank you, Mr. Larry. But quickly
So
before you go,
salaries, not just for judges and for the bench, and we shouldn't backdate salaries. I think it's criminal to go and backdate salary. You approve salary and say they start paying from last month. No, it doesn't make sense.
They said according to the report, it takes effect, from April. January 1st. But away from that,
it should take effect from when they finish the entire job, have it done and dusted. Then it should take effect. You cannot say before you finish it, you say it to take effect from. So we are not in a military administration. I think we need to remove that our military mindset and toga and function like a democracy.
Okay, Mr. Larry, quickly, I just want to get a sense from you in less than 1 minute. Recently, the president have now placed a 3-month ban on foreign trips for ministers, others. This was actually, revealed by the chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, and it was addressed to the secretary to the government, George Akume. And in this case, the ban will last for 3 months in the first instance and will take effect from